Other countries where they had these effects from wind turbines, were there other extraneous noises, like railroads, like traffic? You know, we've acclimated to a lot of these noises over time.
Yeah, and in most cases, these studies that have been done, they've talked about how they dealt with that, how they, for example, a person I know who does these kinds of measurements likes to take an audio recording of what's happening. So if a dog barks or a loud bang happens or occurs during the night, when you're recording continuously through the night, the levels of the sound, then the only way to, your sound level meter won't tell you what that sound is. You have to listen to it, and the brain has to sort out what that sound was. So not many of these studies did it quite to that extent, but they did say that there was a couple instances in which sound, occurred from other extraneous sources.
I'm just wondering at what point in time throws the issue over the top. I mean, we listen to traffic, we listen to...
Yeah, there's noises all around us. This is a quiet building, actually.
And it's a quiet area.
Kind of a quiet area, I guess, too.
Yeah.
I see cars going by, but I don't really hear them, though. That's interesting.
Wait
You
for
can
the
hear them.
second.
Right.
What about, what distance do you recommend?
Distances are really difficult. Two issues that the technical work group has dealt with are physical setbacks for physical safety purposes. If a tower falls, if ice gets thrown from the plane, all that stuff, that's a very short distance. Much longer distances are needed. I think half a mile, gets you a lot of protection from some of the sound. But there have been studies, and several confirm the same thing, that some people up to a mile and a half actually can hear wind turbines. Now, because you can hear them doesn't mean you're going to be annoyed by them necessarily. It certainly doesn't mean you're going to have health problems from them. But I'm just saying, we need to keep them away from people, particularly non-participants. And I say, personally, my view on the task force has been, on the technical work group, is the wind industry can pay non-participants if the noise is too loud, or even if it's predicted through acoustical models that the noise is going to be loud. Let me just, while I'm on that topic, acoustical models are the sort of the backbone of most of the studies that acousticians do, and I believe in them, but I don't believe they are to be trusted in all situations. You can't alone. Acoustical studies are not enough. You've actually got to go in and make some measurements before construction of the wind turbines and compare it with the noise afterward.
I don't want to take too many questions out of the audience just because of time, but we'll take a couple. Go ahead.
Thank you, Doctor. Very good presentation. Has there been any work done on the effects of the repetitive nature of the revolution? The generation of the repetitive...
Oh, the blade swish? I didn't mention the word swish, but the whoosh, swish,
like
swish every second or so. Yeah, that's predictable. There are 3 blades. If they turn 20 times a minute, the rotation is 20 times a minute, each blade passes the tower every second.
I understand, but what bugs me is the dripping faucet, because it's repetitive.
And it's a good example because people have used that example. Dripping faucet actually is maybe 35 decibels. It depends on the distance from it, of course. But my statement to that, my retort is that who wants to sleep with a dripping faucet? Yeah. Speech has been compared to wind turbines as well. The speech is, 65 decibels sound pressure level. Maybe it's 50, 55 dBA. But I can't sleep when people are talking at that level, that conversational level. I mean, sleep is the thing we must protect, I think. Was there a question here?
Yeah. So to simplify into a yes or no question, I have typed some notes for my questions. Simplify into a yes or no question. In your expert opinion, based on all the international data that you've collected and other people have collected and you presented, are there strong potential for adverse health effects on individuals living in a house within 1,300 feet, which has been recommended by local government?
Yes, I think so.
And then finally, you mentioned also a family in Ubley that you are aware of that abandoned their house.
They, actually, what they did, I overstated a little bit, they didn't abandon it. I know of instances where people have I've read about those instances where they actually abandon the houses. They can't sell them in some cases. This family are fortunate enough to have the money to rent a condo or an apartment, and they go into the apartment on windy nights. And they're still doing that.
The reason that I point the question towards the ugly is Mr. Ehlert and Mr. Gould, the local gentlemen promoting this project, have used the ugly project as a ideal model. And
Let's just ask the question, okay? I don't want to get into public comment. Let's
I'm
just
just
ask
wondering if
questions.
that's on Ehlert's bus tour.
I can answer that question.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
What about crops that are growing up during the year? Any information on that?
Actually, I'm not the expert, I'm not the person to ask that, but there are some people in the agricultural divisions of MSU that could answer that question. I'm sure they've been working on, their concern is agriculture and what the impacts are. I've heard, and I don't know if this is true, don't quote me, but I've heard it takes up to 5 acres of land of crop usage, that is what could be used otherwise for crop growing, to build a wind turbine. It takes a lot of space. I think that's a little overstated, several acres. Yeah.
Do you know of any studies currently underway that are perhaps more extensive or authoritative than the ones that...
I think that Nissenbaum has his hand on the pulse of what we all need to know. I mean, I think I'm just hoping that his work will be published, and I think, and some of Salt's work is also going to show, I think, some relationships a little stronger than have been shown in the past between health effects and wind turbine noise. His is going to take a little longer to define, though, as meaningful, because it's basic research and not really applied research. Until he studies wind turbine noise, then we won't have a definite answer from his work. But Nissenbaum, look for his work in the next 6 months or so.
Okay. One more. Go ahead. This is.
When talking about decibels inside the homes, approximately how old were a lot of these studies of the houses? Because I know a lot of the houses around here are older. Some of the houses are old enough to not even been built with...
Insulation is a big factor, right? I mean, I don't know, I can't tell you. Some of these studies are, most of them don't go back beyond early 80s. And a lot of them are from European countries, and Scandinavian countries and so forth. So I can't speak to that. I've seen frequency or a graph of it's called a spectrogram, where you can see the intensity at different frequencies. I saw that recorded from a home closed off, and the sound at 1 hertz was about 90 decibels. And that information is going to be published. NoiseCon is first they present their findings at a conference called NoiseCon. If you Google on NoiseCon, you might be able to find reference to that work. And then they publish the proceedings in writing. And I think those will be published too. But again, I'm not saying because it's 90 decibels, you're going to be able to hear it necessarily, but it's energy getting to your ear. And it could have an effect because it's biologically plausible that it could be affecting the structures in the ear. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Everybody, if you want to stand up, you guys want to get ready.
Did you
We
say
have 5
about
minutes.
a couple